live. Welcome to the All Balls No Filler podcast, live from the cabin kitchen. I'm Zach. He's Brad.
Good evening, good morning, wherever you are.
And behind the scenes, we have a man who is still an undrafted free agent with no chance of getting signed. It's Researcher Cal.
Researcher Cal is not getting signed. I thought you were meant to be being nicer to him.
Oh, well, you know what, right? I was, and then I decided not to be. I don't know. I was trying to think of one for this week that I had one, I'm not going to lie to you, I had one nailed on the head, and some news came out that really ruined it about 15 minutes prior to recording, mate. So I had to kind of just tweak it a little bit. So yeah, I apologise on that one. But yeah, I can't keep being up all the time.
I like that, like, if you listen back to our first few episodes, it was all like bigging him up that he was like this unbelievable, crazy human being, and now it's just resorted to, nah, you're getting it every week.
Well, I'm hoping that if I do it enough, he does something to stand out and shine enough for me to think, you know what, I'm going to bring him back. I'm going to give him that praise and compliment that he deserves. But yeah, until then, he's an undrafted free agent with no chance of getting signed. How you been, mate? Anyway, you all right?
Yes, I am very good, thank you. Yeah, not bad at all. Obviously, we had the draft last weekend, which was nice to sort of, always exciting. It's a bit of a weird one because I won't lie to you, I find it equally boring and exciting at the same time. Boring to watch, but exciting in terms of like the outcomes and what it holds and what it means. And then obviously we had our fixture in Britball this weekend, which was a very good result for the boys, and just a very good day out in general. Nice to have a bit of sunshine when you're on the sideline, isn't it? But yeah, just generally all good. How about yourself?
Yeah, it's one of them. Exactly the same as you, mate. The draft reminds me a lot like snooker, right? It can be really, really boring to watch, but there's certain bits that make it so entertaining at times, right? And look, you can't stop watching it. Once you put it on, you're kind of committed then, because like, oh, well, I'll just watch this next pick. I can see that New England are picking in 4, but I'll just wait until that one. And then, I don't know, I find it quite entertaining like towards it. It's good. I enjoyed it. I watched bits of it. But yeah, and again, same, mate, back in the old Britball, on the back of the sideline, which were nice to do. Boys got a good win out there. So yeah, just all in all a good weekend. Back to reality on Monday, and now you're now recording here, so I'm happy about that, mate. So what we've got in store for today's show?
I think it's a fairly obvious one this week generally. So obviously we're gonna visit the draft. We had our own sort of pre-draft episode last week, didn't we? And we'll touch back on those bold predictions of our well-informed insider knowledge that we have. We'll have a look at those, and obviously just review the draft in generally. So looking at winners and losers from the draft, or early predictions of winners and losers, if you like. And then, of course, some big news from the world of rugby league, which we'll get to in I Can't Speyk. And as always, all of the balls and our weekly seg, Cal's Conundrum.
Yes, I've got a feeling, mate, that we're not going to get any calls from the NFL teams anytime soon about being draft analysts. I'm not going to lie, I don't think they can afford us more than anything else, mate. You know what I mean?
That's it.
I think these have made mistakes. But yeah, let's get stuck into the draft recap as such from itself. An entertaining couple of days. Some not so shocking names getting put out there, and some curveballs as well. So we're going to go through the 2026 prospects where we thought they were going to go, and I'm not going to lie to you, I didn't think we were going to do too bad. I thought some of the prospects that we went for were going to be nailed on at these spots. Evidently, let's have a look at these. We're looking out into the 2026 prospects. It's where we thought they was going to go to where they actually ended up. Now, at first glance, when we were talking to a few boys at weekend, I didn't think we did too bad in terms of predictions, right? And then the draft started. Okay, I know we got 101 right, because we were a given. I thought, hey, we might be on something here. And then when I woke up and looked through the draft picks, I'm like, I don't think we actually said some of these. And then a couple of names that dropped a bit further than we thought as well.
There was some that dropped a lot further than we thought. Shall we have a look over?
Yeah, let's have a look. Hey guys, if you are listening to this, by the way, and you want to see the names, see where we the comparison to where we thought they were going to go to where they actually ended up, head over to our YouTube channel or our Spotify. There's a video on there. It's got all the lovely visuals that we prepare for you each week, so you can see from there. It's a bit easier to kind of go through. Now, pick 101, the Raiders, Mendoza. It would have given. Can we really claim that? It's a bit of a cheat code, I think, as claiming that one.
I mean, you've got to take wins where you can get them, especially when it's us predicting drafts. So I think, 101, Mendoza, we predicted to the Raiders. Every man and his dog predicted to the Raiders. You've seen it after the draft that apparently he's had their playbook for the last month anyway, or something daft like that. So yeah, first one, tick, ding. The next one, not the next one on our list if you're looking visually, but the pick 102 to the Jets. So first round, second overall, we also nailed as well. So David Bailey to the Jets. Jets securing up that defense from the get-go. Probably general consensus that was going to happen, but we're talking about the Jets, so anything can happen.
Yeah, and do you know what? It's one of them. I think it were a good pick. I'm going to get into this in a bit, actually. I think it were a decent pick for them. But looking into pick number 3, third overall, the Cardinals, right? They went for Jeremiah Love. Now, we predicted Jeremiah Love going to the Titans. And this is where our lovely wheels on our lovely bus decided to start falling off. So we didn't get that one there. Okay, we're then moving down. I'll go down our list visually. It's a bit easier to read from that way. We then Ruben Bain Jr. We predicted going to the Saints, who didn't go to the Saints. If you can't see where this is going, he went to the Buccaneers. He went 15th overall at the Buccaneers. We then move on to Francis Maui.
Go on, you can do it.
You
can do it.
Francis Maui Goa, right?
That's not bad.
we predicted him going to the Browns. He ended up going to the Giants, 10th overall from there. Going on our list, David Bailey Jets. We've already been through that one. Arvell Reese to the Cardinals. Went to the Giants. We started, the wheels well and truly fell off across it. A big surprise on this list, though, is a man that we predicted to go to the Dolphins, and we had him predicted as a top 10 prospect in the NFL, right? Who didn't get drafted in round 1, nor round 2,
nope,
not round 3 actually either. He ended up going 10th. So 101st, reading that there, sorry, 101st overall, which is the 4th round. That's Jerry McCoy. And he went to the Raiders. I actually think, reading on this, a bit of a steal, that apparently.
It is. I mean, I'm blaming researcher Cal for this one because there's a few underlying issues with McCoy as to why he dropped so significantly. But he's had a bit of flack already as a researcher Cal, so we might just need to start calling him Cal. But we'll leave it at that one. We then have Mansour Delane. We predicted to the Jets, who the Chiefs. Am I right in remembering this? They moved up to get this one. They traded up to 6th to pick him up. Sonny Styles, then, arguably the best player in the draft, or one of him. Jeremiah Love's obviously probably up there, but Sonny Styles, one of the biggest names in the draft. We predicted to the Giants. And the Commanders grabbed him. So a real good acquisition for their D. And then we predicted Caleb Downs to go to the Commanders. But you actually had then the Cowboys swapping from 12th to 11th with the Dolphins to take him. So not so successful.
No. And yeah, there's a reason why these are our totally accurate NFL draft projections, and that we definitely, didn't just get every single one. But I think the NFL did us an injustice there. I think we wouldn't know there. But let's talk winners and losers of the draft here, and then we're going to talk about a couple of kind of headlines coming out of this, because there's some shit house that I want to talk to you about. I'm all for, by the way. But let's talk winners and losers. Couple of winners, couple of losers, team wise, in terms of players, if it fits there, because obviously you say with Sonny Styles being the best quote unquote one of the best players in the draft, if not the best quality player in the draft, but he might not fit certain criteria that them teams above that didn't take him need. For instance, the Raiders didn't need to take him 101 because they needed a QB. So let's talk winners and losers, mate. I've got a couple of teams down for both winners and losers. I think yourself as well. I'm going to start off, if you don't mind. And for me, a winning team coming out of this is the New York Giants. I think the New York Giants drafted well. I think they took the players they needed at the right times and strengthened across. They've got the QB. They've got a decent running back out of there, and they've got a really good wide receiver out there. So they've strengthened that core. Arbel Reese coming out of the linebacker. They've got Francis Marigoa, O-line there, strengthened there, and then Malachi Fields, wow. Wide receiver.
I can feel a seg coming on in a future episode here.
Jesus.
Zach
do you know what? No, we're not.
Names.
Zach versus words. Yeah.
And that one, yeah.
Yeah. Malachi Fields, wide receiver. I just think they strengthen themselves well in getting up there. That's my kind of first winner.
I think Giants did a good job generally early on in the draft. Now, I'm like we've said, I don't claim to be an expert by any means, but I think the general consensus that I've seen as I've sort of looked into things post-draft, my approach to the draft tends to be more, see the draft, then do the research after, what players did they pick up, what's their background. I'm not a college expert by any means, as we've discussed last week. But the general sort of consensus and my initial thoughts were they started really strong, and then the rest of the draft was it was fine. I don't think there's any major, to my knowledge, any sort of huge sort of steals or pickups sort of throughout. But it was a good, solid, draft for the Giants. They've plugged the holes they had to a point. They've picked up some great first rounders, early on through the draft, first couple of days. But yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that massively. I'm going to flick to the other New York team. And for me, and I hate this as a Dolphins fan, as an AFC East, resident, if you like, I think the Jets arguably had the best draft. Up there with the Raiders, which I'll come to. I think they had an absolutely brilliant first round. They got, they had the 2 picks initially, I think it was, which they picked up absolutely solid players. And then they traded back up into the first round late on as well to grab another one. And I think it was just really, really clever and smart, football or drafting, if you like. Getting Bailey at 2, you've got that premium edge rusher. You've got Sadiq then at 16, who's just going to massively help the offense from the get-go. And then, picking up that extra weapon at the end of the first round, getting nice value for Cooper there as well. You're addressing both sides of the ball from the get-go. And it felt like it was a very non-Jetsy draft. When I was making some notes and I wrote down suspiciously competent as a phrase, which isn't the way I'd normally describe the Jets.
Do you know what? I strongly agree with you. Funny enough, my second team that I'd written down was the Jets for a lot of the same reasons that you did. And you say there, one thing you wrote down was suspiciously competent. One thing I wrote down was it screams a draft you'd do on Madden, where you'd sim to the draft forward, you'd just trade away a few of your players to get 2 or 3 first round picks in, just so you can get a bit of depth in there. When was the last time? I mean, research came up was fine. When was the last time a team had 3 first round picks in the same year that was spread out? Because they were spread out. It was top, middle, end, and these 3 good value players, because you get in players that. If you get 3 on the bounce, you might be taking a player too high to what their actual value is, if you see where I'm coming from there. And I completely agree. Getting McDonald at 32 is a stud there and strengthening that deal. But I think taking 2 strong, it was the Jets in 2022 for they had 3 first round picks a couple of years back. And I just don't want the Jets to do what Jets do when getting players and just doing a very Browns thing and just not letting them run with it as such. I also had the Jets there in is one of my other teams. Speaking of bad teams that draft decent players and don't do things with them, I've got another winner here as the Browns. And it's weird for me to say that because the Browns normally have a high draft pick or along the lines of, and they ruin them. Now, for me, the Browns are pretty set at QB. They've got a choice of 3 QBs at the moment with, Shador. They've got Watson if they want him back, and I've getting Dylan Gabriel. They've got a choice of them 3 there, 3 different QBs to go, and they've kind of strengthened and protected them. They drafted an O-lineman, drafted 2 wide receivers to kind of get that depth up there to see if there's anyone going from it and to push from it. So I would say my last winner would be the Browns of this. So just again drafting people that they need, them core values that they need to get into, basically.
Yeah, I don't think it was a bad draft for the Browns at all. And again, I think it kind of it comes into that same window that I had for the Jets. I don't think the draft was as good as the Jets. I think Jets generally were the number 1 team for me, but it wasn't a typical Browns draft where you think, well, what on earth are they doing? Try and think of the last year that the Browns hasn't had been mocked for some sort of draft. Obviously, last year was the whole Shador saga, wasn't it? And 2 QBs in the top 5 rounds, or was it 3rd and 5th round? I think they were taken. I can't remember exactly, but it felt like a very safe draft for the Browns, or not, maybe not safe, but a stable draft for the Browns, which I think is a win in itself, isn't it, for an organisation like them that are just mocked year on year. So I don't think it set the world on fire, in my opinion, but I do think it was a good, solid draft for Browns, and given the new setup there and the new regime, a definite win. I spoke about the Raiders. We've kind of had 3 teams here on the bounce that are normally doing something weird and unusual. Obviously, Mendoza at number 1. That was the obvious headline. If he's legit as to what they think or what he's hoping or what they're hoping he'll be, you've just changed your franchise overnight there, aren't you, really?
Yeah.
They've got that quarterback. They're not patching the position like they've done over the years. They've not forced sort of someone in there in that first pick. They've not forced someone into it. And equally, they've not just said, right, we've got us QB now and then let's call it a day. They drafted really, really well. The Jeremy McCoy, in the 4th round, the value they've got there. Callum reminded us, one of our friends is a writer for a paper. We'll just leave it at that. And he sort of shared his draft board. That's obviously online and things, but I think he had McCoy. Was it 5th? You said, researcher Cal, just give us a nod. 5th overall on the draft board. He's probably not even listening to me, but that value, getting that in the 4th round's massive. It just felt. I said the same for Jets, not Jetsy. This was the same. It was just weirdly not Raidery or Raider-like. And you could probably say the draft has just been the icing on the cake of what's actually just been a really good off-season for them overall. I think it feels like they've got adults in the room, finally. And I kind of hope it works. I do like the Raiders. They just do weird stuff. I hope it works.
Yeah, it's one of them. I think the three bad teams, I say bad in quotation marks there, the Raiders, the Browns, and the Jets had solid, uncharacteristically their franchise drafts, if that makes sense. One of them franchises are going to screw it up. It will be the Browns, then it'll be the Jets, and then it'll be the Raiders if I'm going to put an order out there. I hope they don't, but one of them's going to do, and it's most definitely going to be the Browns. But at the same time, it's nice to see. But not everyone had a good draft. So a couple of losers now in terms of personal, who we thought didn't necessarily do a great draft in terms of what they needed as such. Now I'm going to pick on a team here that I can't remember the last time I spoke about, or even to my friends, about having a good draft or drafting correctly. And that's the Green Bay Packers. And for me, no first round pick always makes it hard. And I'm going to use that line with another team that I'm going to talk about as well, because I think it kind of, I think you're already on the back foot if you haven't got a first round pick because you've lumped it somewhere else to do something, and it has to work out to not get that quote unquote generational talent that you can get in the first round. But they're still not gone for a QB choice. They still don't know who's going to be leading kind of the long-term future there with Green Bay. Obviously, they've got Love, who's doing all right, but he's not setting the world on fire as such. Could they have used the pick to kind of get back into the first to do something with it, if you know what I mean?
Do you not just feel though if they'd have gone for a QB there, if the like, I don't know, is it Love is their guy in my opinion. I'm not sure they want to rock the boat by going somewhere crazy with that. I don't know. I agree. I don't think he's setting the world on fire. I don't think he's like the best thing ever.
I think he needs competition.
Their guy.
I think he needs the competition to boost up, right? And it goes. There's a few of the teams that are out there that are still kind of having them QB dilemmas and stuff. But I just think he's obviously very settled there, but he's just got nothing behind him to kind of push him to make him take that extra step forward to go into it. But just on the back of the Packers, and one of the big things that Rodgers didn't like when he was there is they were never drafting weapons for him as such. And the first offensive player that they took was in the 5th round. That were a center. I just don't think that, like, I don't know. It just falls back into that same dilemma they had with Rodgers, where they're not drafting kind of to help him out as such to go forward.
Yeah, and I think you're right there, definitely. And Research Cal's typing away in our chat as well, and I fully agree that I think the sort of smart move wouldn't have been to draft a quarterback. You can get competition in free agency. You pick someone up there. There's not that threat and not that waste of sort of using a high pick on a quarterback just for competition. You get the weapons. You get a wide receiver, or you know, I don't think Green Bay need this, but you get a running back, you know, someone who can put support around him. Would have been the smart thing to do, but that's mad. I'd not even realised that it was the first offensive player in round 5, and it was a centre, which is nuts, really. That's
my research. If it is wrong, I apologise. That is my research. I got that off ESPN. I looked through ESPN's did a table of like the first 5 or 6 picks from each team, and the first pick of that I saw on there, Green Bay was a centre in the 5th round. So yeah, my first loser would be the Packers. What about yourself, mate?
So I've got I've written sort of 2 or 3 teams down, and one is more of a, not so much a loser, it's more of a really. But I want to come back to those because I think we'll probably have them on our list. My next one might be actually the one that you referred to before. The Broncos. I actually thought just had a really, really boring draft. Like, and I know that's not necessarily, well, it is fault of their own, but as in they didn't have a first round pick. I think they only had 1 pick in the first 3 rounds, maybe, I think it was. It was just very beige. It was fine. It was definitely like a quantity over quality type thing, even though the quantity wasn't necessarily that high. They didn't have really any like wow picks as far as I can see, or as far as I've seen. It was just a really meh draft from the Broncos. However, I will flip it a little bit. The reason they didn't have a first round pick was because they traded for Waddle. So on the flip side, could you sort of say, well, they drafted Waddle in the first round, and knowing the sort of player he is, would you draft Waddle again in the first round? Yeah, I probably would. So, you know, and thinking where they would have drafted as well, it was late on in the first round, wasn't it? I can't remember where it would have been in the end.
Like 30th one else.
Yeah, it'd be late on, wouldn't it? But by the by, you know, they've not drafted, they've not done that, but they have still got an acquisition that is going to add quality to the team, and they're a pretty well sort of rostered team anyway. Yeah. So I kind of understand the draft, but I also just think it was just a very meh sort of draft, really, for the Broncos.
If you could turn around and say, like research Carl's put in there, did about pick 28. If you could turn around and say, right, well, Gia, a really experienced wide receiver, not one coming out of college because they need to grow into the NFL because it's a completely different game. We'll give you a really experienced wide receiver who's young, got plenty of years left on him for the 28. For pick 28, you're going to take it if that's what you need. You don't need a top 5 QB or the running back side because you've got a strong team there. Funny enough, I didn't have the Broncos on my list, and I was torn between them and another team who, if I just took your part of your script and put it with this team, you've just said all my words back to back for me. And that's the Jags. I didn't think the Jags had a exciting. It was like I'm sure I put on auto draft and we'll just take kind of whatever's best available in there. And like, you know, I spoke to Jake at the weekend. I said, how you find it drafting? He was like, yeah, it's all right. That's it. That's all you can describe it as. It's all right. Like nothing's setting the world on fire. But at the same time, like, what do you need? Do you need to draft high at this moment in time? Are you in a situation of your team right now where you've got enough young players? You want to try and let them blossom a little bit, playing relatively well. Do you see how they kind of get on and maintain and either get some value for them next year or whatever? But yeah, the Jags for me were another one. I've got a feeling that the last team we've both got the exact same, because again, your reaction to that team that you want to speak about last is my words down there. Really? You know what I mean?
Go for it.
The Rams.
Yep.
Okay. Ty Simpson. I look into it and I sort of get it, right? And I think the stigma nowadays is first round QB has to start week 1. I think if he can sit behind Stafford, it could be the next Brett Favre Rodgers partnership where he sits underneath him for a year or two. Let's have a season contract. Let's have a season playing career out. Let's have a finish on a high, or like not get beaten out of the league too much and go out like without a legacy as such. But the stigma there with the fans is nowadays, if you are getting a first round quarterback in, you know, the expectations there in it, you know what I mean?
I think it's a real tough one because I think, you know, he was number 2 ranked QB in the draft. Fine. No problem. I think he was like, I think on that sort of consensus big board, he's sort of ranked, was it like mid-30s, something like that? It was like a borderline first rounder, second rounder probably really. But obviously you get that QB bump, don't you? And I just think it was definitely a reach. But then on the flip side, the Rams then didn't draft until pick number 61. So if it's someone you really, really value, and Stafford's coming to the end of his career, whether it's 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, he is coming to the end of his career. And, you know, researcher Cal's describing it as a perfect scenario, and I absolutely agree. You've got Stafford, who's an absolutely fantastic quarterback to sit behind and learn from. There's arguments there for Hall of Fame. You've obviously got McVay there, who is a fantastic head coach, a brilliant coordinator, a great mind. So if you genuinely let him sit and you genuinely let him learn and develop, he could be, I mean, it's always ifs and buts, isn't it? But he's got the potential to be something great. And it's going to be one of those where if in 3, 4, 5 years' time, we might be looking back and be like, Jesus, Rams pulled an absolute blinder. But on the night, it's like, really? Pick 13, Ty Simpson? Wow.
Yeah, I fully agree. And I put them in the losers just because of that kind of really situation. And from an old, I mean, if you haven't noticed, by the way, guys, I am no NFL expert, but I've watched the game for a long time, and it used to be draft a QB. He would sit underneath your current starting QB for a couple of years, and then eventually will then come out and start playing once either injury happens or just the age thing happens. But then we had this generation of RG3, Lamar Jackson, like Pat Mahomes. In theory, coming out of college, that generation of QB coming out of college is setting a benchmark for first round QBs that have to come out and start performing from day dot. And if they're not, they're binned off 12 months later for somebody completely new. It's a dog eat. Like playing QB in the NFL is arguably the worst position to kind of get drafted at, because you are the spotlight's on you, and the franchise is kind of counting on you, especially that first round pick. But yeah, I just think if the Rams, and if we were talking about the Browns here, I'd be like, right, these situations are absolutely screwed. The Rams are an organisation that we kind of speak about of having generational talent across the field and doing amazing things with. And it does strike me as an organisation that will be smart enough and go, right, Ty, stick with us. You ain't starting week 1. You ain't starting throughout the entire 2026-27 season. But after that, we're going to see where Stafford is. If he wants to finish on a high, you can be ready. You can be there to go, and we'll get you going.
Yeah, there's a few like sort of underlying stories with this one as well, isn't there? I mean, there's two that I kind of want to touch upon. I think the main thing that got me with this, and just the Rams draft generally, not just this pick, is they've got Stafford at the minute. They've got this window. Look how close they came last year to get into the big one. They were one of the best teams in the whole NFL throughout the whole season. But instead of getting some major talent that's going to start from day one and get them over the hump as such, they went QB round 1. They went tight end number 2 at round 2. So another tight end in the Rams locker. They went tackle round 3, and it wasn't until the 6th round that they then picked like a receiver, and then they went D-tack in round 7. So none of those sort of like prime positions, if you like, and those prime players that will make an impact day one to really push them over the hump. That's the thing that got me with it all, really. But there's the story, isn't there, that's come out over the last few days since then. You'll have probably seen the press conference after where like McVay just looks absolutely fuming. Like he looks like the steam's coming out of his ears. But there's the talk that there's some, I can't remember what the connection is now, but there's a connection between Ty Simpson's family and Les Snead, and it's almost that, or between Ty Simpson's coach or something. There's some connection. I can't remember what it is.
Yeah.
But he kind of like had almost been promised like he's coming to the Rams. He will be a Ram, which is pretty bad if that's the case, and McVay's not on board. Like,
yeah, I could believe that story more if it were a 3rd round pick. But your 1st round pick, I don't care how close. We're close, mate. We are close, right? Outside this podcast, we are close. If you rang me up and tried to pull that favourite 1st round at NFL, I'd be like, dude, come on. Like, let's see what's on the board when it comes down to that. I'm not, like, it's not like I'm desperate for a QB right now, is it? Like, I get it, but at the same time, like, if it were a later pick in like even a late 2nd, 3rd round pick, I could maybe more believe that story. I don't disagree in that story has some sort of fuel to it, but I don't think it's half of it. You think about the amount of times you see a coach that looks annoyed. It's just because they've got a bad 30 seconds of him or whatever. Like I don't know. I'd like to think it's
McVay
not.
and Snead are like, they're almost looked at, aren't they, as those, like, they're a pair that are in lockstep for the vast majority of the time. And then this draft just seemed like, whoa, there's something not right there.
Yeah.
There's something. But I don't know. I mean, time will tell. Proof will be in the pudding. It's not a horrendously terrible pick. It's just like a what the hell, I think.
Yeah. So, talking QBs and a bit of like really surprising kind of talent. Diego Pavia, 1st round talent, went on Gruden's QB class, talked a good talk, walked a good walk, went undrafted, and apparently held a big Super Bowl, but held a big draft party, which I bet that was really awkward when he kind of fell out of the first 2 rounds and everything. Went undrafted, and I believe he's the first since, what year is it, research Carl? First since I'll find out the year in a second, to a Heisman finalist has gone undrafted. Now, but today, he has been picked up by the Ravens. I know yesterday he got invited to their minicamp, which was supposed to be this weekend, but he has actually signed I think it's a 3-year deal with the Ravens. What that'll do, where that'll go, I don't know. Jordan Lynch in 2014 was the last person, by the way, to be a Heisman finalist and go undrafted, which blows my mind, I must admit. The Heisman's basically it's a big award, isn't it, realistically, coming out of college?
I think it just comes down to that transfer to NFL, though, isn't it? So he's 5'10", and a lot of the sort of reportings I've seen is that
that's tall, that.
Yeah. Slightly above average. So really tall. So yeah, 5'10". Obviously, behind the big boys. Think of like the tackle that Dolphins just drafted is 6'5" and 350 pounds. So then you've got a 5'10" quarterback behind that, for example. Like he's not got a chance, has he? But also like his arm just not been all that great. So it's that converting from the college game to the NFL game where you do see the discrepancies. Like look at Kyler Murray, like he was electric in the college game, and then he's been average. He's okay.
Yeah,
excuse me, he's okay, but he's it's not quite converted to the same level that he was at college, and we see it all the time. So I think that's the general thing.
So Dylan Gabriel, 5'11", by the way. So there's not much difference there. He was a 3rd round pick last year. Now I get what I think it's more personality. So Pavia didn't have an agent, and he's like, ain't no one taking a cut of mine. But walking around with this kind of gangster talk, you don't do that. Like, you're professional. Like, you got to go in there, yes sir, no sir. And from all accounts, just from what's been reported, he's walking to team meetings prior when they have these little meetings and sit down. It's like, oh yeah, it's like saying to him, don't draft me if you're not going to start me. I'm coming for that starting spot. And now he's behind arguably, he's arguably behind one of the best QBs in league. But he ain't going to be, he ain't going to be stepping up over Lamar Jackson, is he? So yeah, I just think it was a bit of a, bit off more than they can chew. Research Carl Hayes, he didn't want an agent, he didn't want 5 to 10% of his wage getting taken off of him. And agent capped at 3%, so his argument were invalid. These guys are supposed to be super smart coming out of college, and he kind of got. There's a clip circulating around now. I watched Gruden's QB camp. I didn't even click on it at first, but again, it goes to that kind of what we spoke about McVay getting caught off guard with the camera. When they speak about this money situation, Gruden's face just changes, and it's as if like Gruden kind of clicks on. He's like, "Oh, I won't be saying this if I were you, buddy," but he can't say anything against it because the time cap's on it. But yeah, that's kind of a relatively big story coming out of the draft there, and a bit of a shocking one, to be fair. Yeah, a bit of a shocking one.
It was, but he literally put his money where his mouth was, and he got stung, didn't he? Like, so, never mind.
Yes, that he did. Well, that is the recap of the 2026 draft. Not as exciting as previous years. I think it's getting more predictable now, especially when you're saying like Mendoza getting the playbook and stuff a few weeks prior to getting drafted. I think there needs to be a bit more speculation to who's going. 101 were kind of always nailed on head. This year in particular, we'll see how we get on next year. Is it the year of Arch Manning? We'll see from there. But yeah, that is a 2026 draft recap from there. We're gonna move on to another ball sport, another segment of the show that we like to call Can't Speyk, Get Him Off Ref, where we're talking all things rugby league. We're going to go through a couple of the scores. Might miss one of them out in particular, but we're going to go through a couple of scores. But Brad, there is a headline coming out of the world of rugby league this week. So this week's scores, Lee and Huddersfield. Lee took Huddersfield Town 30-16. York and Toulouse. What's happened to Toulouse here recently? because after the first 2 weeks, I feel like a broken record. Every week it's just what's happened. They've gone. The fire has well and truly gone from this camp here.
It has. It has.
All 50 cost 10. Leeds 46, Catalan 4. Big score there for Leeds against the Dragons. Warrington again. Warrington beating Wigan 23-6. Wigan well and truly out of that title race at this moment in time. There's another wagon that where wheels have fallen off of that. Don't know what's happening in that camp there. OKR 48, Bradford 12. Big score line there, and Saints 18, Wakefield 12. Now, all the scores this week, other than the Wakefield Saints score, big score, heavily one-sided. So I didn't even realise until I looked at this kind of how one-sided the scores have been, other than that Wakey St Helens.
Yeah, it was a lot of big scores. I had Saints and Wakefield down as quite a close game on my predictor. I think I had 6 points down as well. I might have put Wakefield to win it though, but a good tight game there. But yeah, everything else really, really lopsided, and really odd that there was no game taking place in Castleford this week.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, must have gave them a week off. But yeah, I mean that's your scores. But the biggest news this week's not in the scores, is it?
No, the biggest news this week is that England Rugby League have got themselves a new coach going forward. Brian McDermott's taken the reins there. Now, International Rugby League is sometimes seen as a bit of a farce, because they never get a chance to train. They just get chucked into games. There's a load of talent on the field, and they never play well together. We're in and out of different coaches that take the reins and go from this, go from that, and they just can't get anything going with it. But McDermott's coming in with a hell of a resume. Did really well at Leeds. He did well at Toronto, in all fairness, with what he had to do when Toronto, with the other Canadian team not playing in Canada. And then did really well at Feather as well. So he's got a good kind of backing there when it comes down to it. What were your initial view when you saw this, the announcement?
I just think, look, he's a solid coach, he's a proven coach, but I just don't know if he's right for this job. Like, I'm so torn with it. It's almost like I can see him calling up Kevin Sinfield and Danny Maguire to start in the halves. Like, it's just, I'm just not sure he's as forward thinking as I'd want, really. I can just see exactly what's going to happen. It's all the names that you'd expect. It's going to be the same old story, I think, with international rugby league in England, is you're going to have all the big names playing out of position. That's what we're going to get. And it's so frustrating that happens every time, just to fill the egos and get them on the field. There's a reason people play in certain positions, and you need the best player at that position available. I know there's the challenge because of obviously the Aussies and the Samoans and the X, Y, and Z, players that are quality and come over here. But you've just got to be able to field a team where, if you're wanting to compete, it's people who are playing them positions day in, day out all year. We've got the World Cup this year, and it's in Australia. Well, Australia, New Zealand, and PNG, isn't it? But I don't know. I'm really mixed. I think my issue is more with England Rugby League than the hire, to be honest.
I agree. I feel like it needs to be more of a... I think it needs to be more of a coach that's involved with the Super League more. I think it needs to be I think the England Rugby League coach, it should be a coach that's currently coaching a team and going forward with the team, and that helps out, especially if it's within the Super League as such. The grassroots of the 90% of the grassroots of English rugby happening week in, week out across. Now, I understand they're seeing a lot of their own team as such, but like that'll power for me, for instance, would be a great acquisition over there in terms of that, because he plays exciting football, or rugby, sorry. He plays exciting rugby. He has that team chemistry connection that he always, whichever team he takes, other than Warrington, or should I say, every team he's been a part of other than Warrington, he's had this real good team connection. What the guys just look like they want to play for each other every week in, week out. For me, that's what he needs. He doesn't need a coach that's going to drift around a couple of games for 80% of the season and go, right, boys, I want you all here for a week, and then we're going to get everybody in, because you just don't work like that. Like you fall out of the camp of it. If you're currently coaching, your head's in playbooks, the coaching, that your head's involved with training, rather than you've got 9 months of the year off without any players to go do any training with, to then jump on a field and go, let's run, let's do this. Because you can't, me and you can draw something up, you can draw a set play up, right, or attacking play, and if you're not trying, we've drawn plays, when we've been coaching, right, and if you on paper it works, until you try it out and you think, actually, that route needs to be this route, or this blocking scheme needs to be this blocking scheme, and it hasn't worked. McDermott's got X amount of time to do this. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. And again, I think that's not his fault not having the team together, but I think there should be more international break for the guys to go train. Yeah,
no, absolutely. I think the whole setup just needs looking at generally. I think the Aussies do some of it really well. And I think them having the sort of state of origin helps as well, because you've got situations there where they're used to playing with different players, so they kind of know how you can drill for short series of games, which is ultimately what the World Cup is, and things like that. So I think that model, and hopefully the NRL are getting involved. The trend is pointing kind of that way, but who knows? So yeah, time will tell, like with everything, but I'm not over the moon with it, really.
Just want to flip back to the NFL right quickly. Research Carl's just thrown some breaking news into our chat, which I'm super, super happy about. The Patriots have just accepted the 5th-year option on Christian Gonzalez. Oh my God. So happy about that. That is, it's getting locked down for next year. Get this man paid. As soon as AJ Brown gets over, get this man paid. Get this man paid right now. He is the best thing to happen to our defense for a very long time. Get him signed.
I'm so happy for you.
I can't wait to break the AJ news in June. Hopefully it happens anyway. Touch wood. Anyway, moving on. So yeah, that's kind of a breakdown for the rugby league at the moment. If you've got any views on what is your view on the rugby league scenario and the international rugby league? Let us know in the comments. Let us know over on our Instagram, our Twitter, and just on the videos that you're watching or listening to. At ABNF is across all the socials. Go find us there.
ABNF
right.
Pod.
Oh my God, I've got it wrong. I've done so well.
You have. You've not
done
that in a
so
while.
So well. That week one,
words.
I haven't done it since. Oh, jeez. and you know what? I am looking forward to the next bit as well.
I am. I'm really looking forward to it.
Should we get into it?
Let's do it.
All other balls coming up. Brad, do you want to explain what All Other Balls is, please?
I would love to. All Other Balls is where we visit the other areas of sport outside, of course, of the NFL and our I Can't Speyk feature, which is rugby league, as you've just heard. So we touch on other areas, other sports, other things happening, and just pick on the sort of current big headline or two in the world of sport generally. And as you all know, and as Zach's very willingly going to take us through, the London Marathon took place on Sunday, arguably one of the biggest, sort of most popular marathons in the world. I don't know if it's biggest on numbers, but I do know it's huge. But something major happened this weekend, didn't it, Zach?
Yeah, loads of people ran 26 mile and somebody won. That's it.
Who won, Zach?
Sorry, I think the connection's bad. What did he say? Sorry, Brad. Hello?
So, I think we had a world record set, didn't we, mate?
Oh, right. That news is what you wanted. Right, okay. So, yeah, first place came in first and second place came in sub 2 hours. Now, look, I ain't no runner, but I know this is a phenomenal time. One of our coaches, that coach and myself, Brad, he does a lot of marathons. He was super stoked when he saw this as well. First place came in at 1:59.30, and that was a Sebastian Sorry?
Sorry. What was that?
That's I really was on my screen right now. Sowie, Sebastian Sowie.
Sure,
that's his name. Something on that. I apologise in advance. And second place is. I swear you put this backwards. Second place came in at 1:59.41, and that was a Yomif Kelj. Okay, Yomif Keljeka. Yomif K came in at 1:59.41. My voice is going in. Well done, boys. I presume I did. Yeah.
In all seriousness, though, like just massive achievement. So someone did run sub 2 hours a number of years ago, and it was all backed by Nike. I don't know if you know this or you've seen it, but it wasn't granted as an actual world record because they were using pace setters and lasers and stuff to sort of keep the pace going. So Nike put loads of money into publicising this as well and backed it, but it didn't stand. It didn't get approved as a world record because of that. And then what's brilliant is that both of these two runners, both first and second, who have both beat the world record, obviously only Sebastian Sowie has the record now, but they both ran in Adidas trainers. So it was kind of like a double FU to Nike, which is a fun one.
It's funny you say about that because I was listening to the radio this morning. They were talking about this, or yesterday actually, they were talking about this, and they were saying that the shoes that they got from Adidas and that they were wearing, they've got carbon fiber running through the soles, which keeps, because apparently these, I don't understand running in terms of the right and wrong way to run. I'm flat-footed and get shin splints. I'm not great at this, can't do couch 5k. But from what I gathered from this was their carbon fiber running through the soles, which keeps their toes touching the ground more than the heels. So you're running on like the toes of your feet as such.
Balls
so it keeps you. Yeah, that. I thought balls of your feet were back. Is it not?
No, that's your heel.
Oh, well, the balls of your feet. See, this is how much I know about, So, yeah, the balls of your feet, right? So it keeps you on there rather than, I don't know. I don't know how it works, but that's what I heard anyway. So, yeah, good on them. Well done, boys.
Yeah, massive achievement. Well done.
Yeah, it's something I'll never be able to do. Let's move swiftly off of this, right? And let's not take away anything from there, but well done. We're going to move on to Carl's Conundrum for this week and last week. Now, look, it's a tough one again, right? And research Carl, Megamind, the man with the biggest head in the world, the knowledge. This is getting a bit tough, Must admit, I'm firing blanks with these. Last week's Carl's Conundrum: who was the last running back to be selected first overall in the NFL draft? And this sounded more obvious than what it actually was to me. Oh my God, Carter, right?
That's not that hard. That one, is it? Kijana Carter.
Kijana Carter, right? I have to reread things. I think you're stitching me up here now, right? Kijana Carter.
Seriously, this is a segment coming in a few weeks. 100%.
I'm calling in sick that day. 1995, picked by the Cincinnati Bengals, was the last running back to be drafted first overall in the NFL draft. Let's have a look at this week's Carl's Conundrum. Guys, if you want to get involved with this, head over to our socials that we posted on there. Drop a comment on there. Or on our video here on the YouTube or Spotify, drop a comment on whatever you're watching or listening to. Carl's Conundrum this week: which two teams played in the first ever? I know this one. Which two teams played in the first ever NFL regular season game in London? I know this one. I was there. I know this one. Oh no! Wait, no, because this doesn't say Wembley. This says London.
Mm-hmm.
No, because I'm sure they were preseason game. They wanted preseason game before then.
You'll find out next week.
Yeah, you will. Oh, God, that's right. Anyway, which two teams played the first NFL game in regular season in London? Let us know. Right, let's get out of here because my mouth is all over the place. Brad, anything you want to say before we go?
No. I'm already planning future segs. I can't wait. That's so brilliant.
Let's not, shall we? Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't yet, please hit like, subscribe, share it across your socials. It really helps us out. Get involved. Just drop us a comment. Let us know what you think as well. If you think it's shit, let us know. We'll improve it somehow. Anyway, you've been a right laugh at ABNF Pod across all your socials.
Hey.
See you later. I'm off to bed. Good night. Peace.
Bye-bye.